Hello, everyone. It's so lovely to see you. Raymond's comment came right there as I was clicking the button to show my face. And Raymond just says, "Afternoon, folks. The dog's tail always wags like mad when she hears the intro music for these." So I love that. But hello to everyone else who's popped in the chat feature already, where you're watching from. It's such a pleasure to have you here today. If you haven't already, do like Georgia has and just say hello in the chat, and making sure to switch your messages to everyone so everyone can see your messages today. Hey to Jess, Helen, Melissa, Megan, Livia, Amy, Michael, Kate, the list goes on. Thank you all so much for taking the time. It's a genuine thrill. I hope we have a really, really lovely hour together today. Um, Today we have someone who I've wanted involved in TMM for just forever, because she is one of the most authentic, compassionate, kind people I've ever met, and that's Emma Harris. So Emma is works at a place called Glow London. Started, runs Glow London, um, but has a storied marketing past, including sort of leading the sales and marketing over at Euro. Is it Eurotunnel or Eurostar?
Eurostar.
Eurostar. Sorry, Emma. And It's just absolutely fantastic. Emma's walked in our shoes, and so today we're going to be speaking about something more well-being-y. But today she comes from a place of having walked in our shoes too, which I think means so much. As Rachel says, you're a star too. In the chat, so Rachel is way more smooth than I am. So, um, today, before we get started, sorry, let me do the intro thing. Today is all about slowing down, which is what I should be doing with this introduction, frankly, because I stumbled over my words. And that's quite a counterintuitive thing for a lot of us in the time where we're being told to speed up. Um, I've seen this session before, and it's a bit of a life changer. So I hope it makes a dent in your world too. If you have extra questions as today's session goes on, do head into the Q&A feature, which is found down in your Zoom toolbar down below. We'll make sure to get those in as we go. Also, a swear warning for today. You should have seen that in the title. I assume that's probably okay if you signed up, but just a warning that probably will happen. Before we get started today, I just want to say a big thank you to our sponsors. This week's featured sponsor is ScoreUp. So their founder, CEO, Daniel Priestley, has just recorded the most recent episode of Diary of a CEO. So if you would like to watch that, then the QR code is right there. A big thank you also to Frontify, Storyblock, Cambridge Marketing College, Planable, Redgate, and indeed ScoreUp. All these companies mean that we can continue to bring these sessions to you. So they deserve a lot of praise and thanks. With all that said, now's the time to get going with today's session. So Emma, thank you for taking the time. You
Thank you for
are,
having me.
well, you're an important figure in my life, so I appreciate it. But you've been on a bit of a journey for these past few years. So can you tell us why you started asking folks to slow the F down?
Yeah, I'm not going to say F, but anyone who's ever seen me or my sister from another Mr. Sherilyn Shackle speak, you'll know that there are some profanities. But so yes, I walked in your shoes. I was in marketing for a long time and jumped out, had a bit of a squiggly time, decided to run my own thing, and I set up Glow in 2019. My big frustration as a client was always that the brand needed to be much more than just the colouring in, what I call, the external, very important external wrapper. And there was so much energy that I spent working with HR and marketing, HR and customer services and products and customer experience to bring it all to life. Yet there was no agencies sort of helping to deliver on that. So eventually I set up Glow, and we are all about doing both brand and culture, inside out brand. And so I've been running Glow for, well, it was 2022, we'll get back to, that's when Slow the Fuck Down started. So it's May 22. So I've been running Glow for about 3 years. I was also, you and I know each other through the wonderful Marketing Academy, very much Marketing Academy family, and I'm a trustee of the foundation. At the time, I was also on the exec team of a social media business called Social Element, who are brilliant and very proud to have been part of that journey. I also have 4 children. I know you have two, Joe. So that, you only have 2 hands. So having 4 kids is kind of bonkers. And they range between the ages of, we're going back to 22, they were between the ages of 5 and 21. So I always, I've got sex, drugs, and nursery rhymes all going on in the same house. It's like a 24 operation. It's like take the bottle off that one, take the weed off that one, all going on. Um, I'm married to an actor, a guy called Danny Sapani. So we have a crazy life. He's away a lot, and he's at home a lot. Um, but there's no such thing as a dull life at the Sapanis. And I was, doing what we all do, which is running a million miles an hour. And I was in New York. I'd been in Chicago the week before with WPP, and I was in New York with Social Element in the board. And I was in. It was the last day. Had a busy week, and I'm someone who's always taken my health very seriously. To the extent that on the Monday, there's pictures of me running by the Hudson. On the Wednesday, I'm running by Ground Zero. The morning this incident happened, it was a Friday morning. I actually did a HIIT class in my bedroom. I don't remember doing it, but the lovely Lynn Frost, who runs Social Element, said she knocked on my door and was wearing nothing but a pair of pants and a sports bra. So that must have happened. And we packed up to leave, and we went for brunch, and we were about to go and get on the plane. I stood up to go to the loo and collapsed and had a cardiac arrest. And cardiac arrest is lethal. I mean, 91% of people that have a cardiac arrest, it's what happened to Christian Eriksen in the Euros. It's not, a heart attack can be very serious, but it won't necessarily kill you. But if you have a cardiac arrest from a heart attack, then you're most likely to die, particularly if you're outside of a hospital. And I was incredibly lucky. There were 3 people in that restaurant. So Lynn and Tamara Littleton, the wonderful Tamara Littleton, started shouting, "Can someone help us?" And 3 people in that restaurant were doctors and saved my life. And had I made it to the loo, I wouldn't be here, because obviously I was, you know, I would have got into the loo, and they would have happened in the loo. If it had happened on the plane, if it had happened that morning in my room while I was doing my exactly heated HIIT class, whatever it was. And when I woke up in ICU and eventually worked out what had happened to me, and they still don't really know what had happened, why it happened. It was one of my ventricles in my heart. They know physically what had happened, but they don't know why. And it's, my cardiologist says it was a glitch, probably brought on by stress. But it's like, sometimes your laptop goes a bit bonkers and you get a bouncy ball for ages and you reboot and it's all gone away. And it's a bit like that. Sometimes the body does stupid things. I was just very lucky that it didn't end my life. I nearly left a 5-year-old without a mum. And when I woke up in ICU, and eventually worked out what had happened. Stupidly, they left me with my phone. And all I could think of as I was lying there is, what the fuck have I been doing with my life? And, why have I been running around like a blue ass fly and making stupid decisions that don't put myself first or my family first? And pushing myself to the limits, which I know a lot of people listening will be thinking, this is me. And I shared this thought on LinkedIn because, everyone I know drinks from a fire hose most of the time. We're just on this sort of running, this perpetual, this week, this day, this month, this quarter, this year. Then we rinse and repeat and start again. And every year we say we do it differently and we end up, just overwhelmed. And everyone I know is like that. And I just put this post on LinkedIn with a picture, a really unattractive picture. You might remember it. So oxygen up my nose, lying in bed, no lippy, and just saying, I want to share what's happened to me, and I want you all to slow the fuck down. And to be honest, Joe, I don't remember writing it, but it completely changed my life, because for that was the moment. And I've been doing a lot of speaking, as you know, that's how you met me. And I am an NLP practitioner. I am a human performance expert. I'm part of a group called Planet K2, who, we studied 30 years in elite sport and understood performance and apply it to business. I know this stuff. I know how to live a good life. And I was a hairdresser with bad hair. Helen remembers the post. Um, I was a hairdresser with bad hair. I wasn't doing myself. And I felt, once that reaction, now Cheryl phoned me and said, "You have broken LinkedIn." So this post got shared 3,000 times. It got 9 million views. And there were 90,000 reactions. There's about 9,000 comments. I haven't read most of them because they're not like, well, sorry this happened. They're paragraphs of people pouring their hearts out. One dude, and I've told this story so many times, talking about the fact that he worked in advertising, was on his way to a pitch, knew he was having a heart attack, went through with the pitch and asked the suit on the way out to take him to A&E. It's like, what the fuck? And so that's the point where I thought, okay, I've got to get this message out there. I've got to help people, and I've got a story that will wake people up. And that's how it all started. Very long answer to a short question. Sorry.
It's a very good answer though. So thank you, Emma. And we've got Helen in the chat, as you say, sort of saying she remembers the post well. And as you say, 90,000 engagements, reactions, which doesn't just happen unless people resonate and feel the same things, right?
Mm.
And so when you say statements such as, I know there will be people watching on the call feeling that way, and statements like "we're drinking from the fire hose."
Mm.
I, I think the word resonates sort of comes to mind really. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you giving a long answer. So what did you learn, Emma? What were the takeaways, which I hesitate to do sometimes because not everything needs a takeaway, but there was actually some really useful
Oh
things.
no, that's what slow the fuck down is. That is absolutely the best question because, what did I learn? There was three main things, and I learned a lot. Um, maybe only drink one coffee a day. Um, I was like up in the morning, coffee, 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 espresso martini. Um, no, I learned there's three main things that I talk about under the pillar of slow the fuck down. One is about making better choices. One is about the power of manifestation. And manifestation gets a really bad rap, but I'll explain the science behind that and the fact that it's about manifest, don't stress, because it removes a lot of stress. And the third one is look after yourself, which sounds really obvious. um the make better choices is all about the fact that this madness, this hamster wheel we're really on, often is the pressure we put ourselves under. And that's the big thing that's changed for me, because we live on sort of fear, FOMO. FUPO is my new favorite one. So for FOMO is fear of missing out, FUPO is fear of other people's opinion.
Nice, love that.
But if there was a sort of a map of my life before I got ill, it's all about work. This sort of quest I've been on since I was a youngster. I ripped my way through Eurostar. Every year I was like, right, I've sorted the call center out. Now what are you going to give me? I led the change when we moved to St Pancras. Right, okay, now I'm off. And they were like, here, take on the entire marketing function globally. And it's like more, 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 because in some weird, messed up way, we think when I get that job, I'll be happy. When I get that salary, I'll be happy. When I'm a C-suite, I'll be happy. When I'm, I don't know, married, I'll be happy. God, that's mad. I'm very happy married, let's just say. Challenge,
um,
whoever men and women should live together was mad. Um,
I didn't mean to
but
laugh
yeah,
at
it's that thing, when I'm thin, I'll be happy. It's we put our happiness in front of ourselves. And that was the
that.
big thing. I woke up in hospital and went, I need to be happy now, because from now on, every minute I live is a blessing, right? So why am I wasting all this energy going, well, when I do that, I'll be happy. Be happy now. And the choices that we make, because 95% of our behavior is unconscious. This is where we start to get into the science, right? 95% of
Mhm.
behavior is unconscious. And that unconscious mind, when I met you, I was talking to you about this, that we get a feeling and then we create the behavior that comes from it. But the feeling's often of an imaginary story. We make stuff up. Our unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a thought and reality. And we are pre-wired to think negative, because from Neanderthal days, when a noise in a bush might be a lion, not a rabbit, we have to be pre-wired to think negatively. And what Make Better Choices is about interrupting that. Because at 4 o'clock in the morning, when we're lying awake and we're completely overwhelmed and we're thinking everything's shit and certain people are in charge, so we're not going to go into that today, but the world's going to end and the kids are going to die and everything's shit. And oh, by the way, I'm a piece of shit, all that stuff in our heads. It's just our thoughts. And the minute you go, that's just a thought, it's like putting a pin in a balloon. it completely loses its traction on you. So saying to people, are you reacting to something based on reality or a feeling? If you've seen Inside Out,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I mean, an
And
Inside
number two.
and number two, well, number two for me is like the genius, because if anyone hasn't seen it, it's about the personification of emotions in a young girl's head. And in number two, anxiety gets control of her
Yeah.
panel.
Mm,
And it's got all these little bits of imagination, writing hundreds of worst case scenarios and then passing them up to anxiety to create fear. And that's how we live. And yet we behave like that. So
mm,
it's just saying, the way disassociate from your thoughts, just go, is that a thought or reality? Make decisions based on evidence. I've got to go to that meeting, but you create the fear, I've got to go. And actually, why? What's happening? In my head, I've created a picture of me
mm,
not being in the meeting and everything going to shit and me getting in trouble, me losing my job, losing my house, dying alone on the streets. Now, that
mm,
sounds bonkers, but that's what our unconscious mind is doing. And it's about being stopped. What evidence is there that if I don't go to that meeting, it's all going to go to shit? None. Or that if I don't go to that party, I'm going to ruin the birthday girl? No, no. There's 100 people.
mhm.
She's going to have a great time whether you're there or not. So it's just going, why am I doing things? What evidence is there? And grounding yourself in the present. I don't know if you've ever read Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now.
No, I haven't.
Read it.
No.
It's brilliant. And I mean, it's not all of it I love, because there are bits of it which is like, it is a great book. Yes, Abby, it's brilliant. But there are bits of it's like fill your body with light. I'm not necessarily into that. But he talks about how our unconscious minds work and that we spend most of our lives in a past we can't change and worrying about a future that hasn't happened yet. And when you get into the now, being really present, you are powerful, because now it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Actually, all that's happening is he's snoring, the dog's on my feet. Zainab, the book is called The Power of Now. And that's where no one's going to, everything's okay. And that's where you really calm yourself down and you make decisions based on reality. And that's where you get the power. A lot of this running everyone is doing is because there's a lot of fear in the world at the moment, because the
Mhm.
people at the top want us to be afraid because that gives them power. So, and there's something really stressful going on, this energy about, am I going to lose my job? There's a lot of, is AI going to take over the, but actually standing right here in the present, what's going on, we're all okay. And most of us aren't operating on babies, we're
Mhm.
selling shit. So that's the
That's,
first thing. Make
uh,
sure the decisions you're making and the choice you're making are based on evidence, not imagination. Um, and then the second thing, I'm conscious I'm just talking at you, but we'll go
so Emma, like, should I prompt it so it feels like
yeah.
I'm
Go on then.
contributing?
Ask me about manifest, don't stress, Joe.
So Emma, could you tell me about manifesto stress, please?
Well, I mean, if you can get to a place of power of making decisions based in the now, the next thing to think about is using your unconscious mind. So that 95% of behavior that's happening unconsciously is being driven by your beliefs, because your belief drives your feelings drives behavior creates outcomes reinforces belief. So, for example, I'm going to speak this afternoon when I get off this call. If I believe I'm going to smash it, I will feel confident. I will be brilliant. I will get a standing ovation. I will then be reinforced that I'm brilliant, right? And I'll tell them that, by the way, during the
Yeah,
program, that they notice it. Um, but similarly, it can work the other way. So you can believe you're going to fuck up, feel nervous, behavior, blah, and then you're reinforcing your belief. So setting your belief is where you get your power. And often we go into situations trying really hard to control it. I've got to remember to say this. I've got to remember to do this. I must, or I've got to write all my notes and have my notes. And what you're doing is you're trying to run the engine from the 5%,
yeah.
and 95% is doing the work. So get the belief completely buried into your unconscious mind. And you do that by doing visualization, setting out. And this is what athletes do. I
Mhm.
mean, Sally Gunnell, you're probably too young to remember
No,
Sally.
no, no. I know I was a pundit. So,
There we go. Well, Sally Gunnell, she'll tell you that she didn't know when she won her first gold medal. She was an Olympic hurdler, that she didn't know whether she'd actually won it or whether it was another visualization,
Mhm.
because she'd practiced it so many times. Yet in business, we don't use this muscle. And we can, rather than going into a meeting worrying about the outcome, go to the end and envisage texting or messaging or writing to someone going, absolutely smash that. And what
Mm.
you're doing is like putting a postcode in your sat nav. So your unconscious mind doesn't know time in the same way as it doesn't know the difference between a thought and reality. So by visualizing that, what you're doing is creating a visual memory that goes into your hippocampus the same way as an actual memory does. And your unconscious mind will then go out and get that future. That's why this shit works. That's why people talk about manifestation as a something you can wish or hope for.
And
But
that,
I honestly believe you can have anything you want in life. There are two conditions with which that is true. And the first one is knowing what you want. And often that's the hard bit. That's another
mhm,
webinar.
mhm.
And then the second one is knowing you can have it, and visualization and setting your outcomes. Every year I do a thing in January where I do go to the following January. You've done this, and write the one day, but do it in the present tense. So one day you just go, it's January the 12th, and I am waking up at 6:30 because I'm doing yoga, which I now do from my yoga studio downstairs, which I've built over the summer. And today I have 3 workshops with my new client, whatever it is. Because when you're here going, how do I want the year to look? What do I want to achieve? It feels overwhelming. And you're doing that thing where you're putting it in front of you. Whereas when you go to a day in the future, it's like putting those sat nav coordinates in, and you're programming your unconscious mind. This is the life I want. I do this all the time, and I do it with people I work with. And I had a message from someone the other day. I wonder if they're on the call actually, saying, "Oh my God, I just listened to the vision session we did in August, and like so much of it has come true, like so terrifying about how much of it's come true." And that happens all the time. So
Love that.
that's what manifestation, not hoping, wishing. I'm not saying I'm wishing, I'm manifesting an Italian with a big helicopter. It's not that. Not that that's what I want anyway. One man at a time, thank you. But it's really focusing the science and getting it right, practicing. I do it in the smallest of ways. Like even if
Mhm,
I'm driving somewhere,
mhm.
I picture the parking space, and that sounds crazy, but it works.
I love that.
Um,
Can I just jump in there, Emma? Because
yeah,
like,
please do.
if we were to, so like, this feels like such a lovely prompt, for
Yeah.
folks on today's session as a very simple thing which they can do today, which could have a really beautiful outcome. Um, would you be able to just spend like a minute just sort of describing what these statements might look like on a sort of semi-practical level, so folks could sort of like go away today and sort of say, you know what, after this webinar, I'm going to write a statement that looks like X, Y, Z. What would I don't want to use good bad language because that doesn't feel appropriate. But what would be some statements which have worked for you in the past?
I think it's less about statements, it's more about what you cover. So I
Hmm.
would say the 5 things to cover is home, work,
Hmm.
health, finance, and relationships.
Nice.
So in doing that description of the day, so I'm waking up, I'm going down to my new yoga studio. I'm never going to be a yoga studio, but I even past my new sofa. Listen, one year it was that I turned the bathroom lights on and all the bulbs worked. And that
Nice.
sounds crazy, but there was something about the fact that I only had like 2 out of 10 bulbs in my bathroom
Hmm.
working, was connecting with my feelings of self-loathing, right?
Hmm.
And so that was part of my vision. So you put anything you want in that you want to change. It might be a new place, or it might be changes in your existing place. So then you talk about, and today what's happening at work. You talk about your health, so you put in what your exercise is or how you're feeling. And then your finances, at some point, just write down, have a look at your banking app and write some numbers down. And then relationship, you might be the relationship you're in is great. I always talk about my kids in my manifestation, what's happening then, remembering this is about you.
Hmm.
So there's no point putting loads, because this is you programming your unconscious mind. As powerful as you are, you can't control other people's unconscious mind. You can influence them though. I know my belief in my kids, things that are going to happen will unconsciously influence them. You can't change other people, you're going to change yourself and your response to them. So putting all that into a picture, use as many senses as you can. So talk about what you're seeing, what you're hearing, I'm walking into the office and I'm hearing chatter.
Mhm.
I'm seeing the faces of my team look at me, and I see the respect and the value that I'm adding in their response to me being arriving. Uh, Pack in as much as you can richness in the day. And then when you end, just put 3 words that describe how you feel on January the 12th, whatever it is. Um, you know, Sexy, fulfilled, happy, excited, confident, whatever it is.
Mhm. I
And
love that.
write it, and then do a vision board that goes with it. So my vision board, I did it last Friday. I had the girls over and we had a stack of magazines and old boards, and we stuck them all on. So you can either do it like that, or just really go on Google and find loads of images.
Mhm.
You know, here's the fire pit I want in the garden, and here's a picture of some, a gym, whatever it is. Put it all in there. Honestly, this works. I had a picture of a house in my vision board in 2017, and I bought a house 4 years later. And this house looks so remarkably like it. And it's not
Mhm.
magic, it's just
Mhm.
because that was my lens.
What I really appreciate about this, Emma, and I don't think it's necessarily the, the specific angle. I'm sort of transplanting this into my world a little bit, but I think it is part of the methodology here as well. But like, I don't notice when things go well, really. I will notice when things go terribly, or badly, or even below averagely. But like, if I achieve something, or something goes well, or blah blah blah, um, because I haven't really set a goal, or I haven't sort of visioned, put a vision to this before. These are just things that happen, and they happen to be positive. Then I don't necessarily slow down to notice them. And it strikes me with the manifestation moment, um, that you probably walk into a scenario and you go, "Oh wait, it's happening." It's happening. I think the second thing to add here is that I did do this exercise with the Marketing Academy way back when. And I remember writing down, so this was 2020. I remember writing down that I was going to walk into my flagstone kitchen. Flagstone. What's the big stones that sit on your floor, and there'll be like a hearth and all that sort of stuff. And what's really funny is I didn't I didn't get any of that. 5 years later, I'm living a very different life to the one that I manifested in that moment. But I've kind of realized that it's also a benchmark of progression for me. So in the same way as you sort of speak about 2 out of 10 light bulbs on in the bathroom, I kind of look at my life and go, oh, I don't want that. I'm actually really, really happy with what I have
Mm.
now. And I just, having gone through the exercise and reflecting on it 5 years later, A, it's so, so useful, but then also B, to not get what you manifest but still be happy with it, I think is just an interesting angle on it as well.
I agree. And because gratitude is such an important part of slowing the fuck down.
Mm.
I bet at some point you'll have that kitchen though. That's just maybe it's your retirement home.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I bet because you program your unconscious mind. In 2017, the same one has had that house that, I didn't buy for 4 years later. I had a book. So I had a book at the time. It was called Smashed It because that was what my old keynote was.
Mhm,
And I'm now writing the book. I've got a book agent. I mean, the story of that is amazing. So
mhm,
Adam Morgan, the legend that's Adam Morgan, has been a mentor of mine for years. In fact, he was a client for a bit because I helped them eat big fish with their positioning. One of my claims to fame, that they couldn't do it themselves because you can't see inside the jar from the label when you can't see the label from inside the jar. That's it.
mhm.
Anyway, and Adam said to me, I've been saying I've got to get this book out. I just want to reach more people. And he said, you need a book agent. You need Curtis Brown. And a week after that, 1 week later, I was doing a keynote, and it was one of those random ones. It was a load of property executives. It was unbelievable. I stood by a till. I didn't have a microphone. It was one of those. What am I doing here? They didn't. They said they'd give some money to the foundation, so I had to say
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was one of those random things. And at the end, this guy came up to him and said, "You're amazing." And my wife's asked if she can meet you, and she's the head of books for Curtis Brown.
Uh, Amazing.
And I came out and I phoned Dad and I said, "You want?" It was 1 week later. He
Nice.
said,
I
I
love
said,
that.
you'll never guess. And so now I've got the book agent. So, you know, it's taken 7 years. Is it 7, 8 years?
Mm. Well,
So I think you're right. I think along the way, noticing the good stuff you have, and also we do it. So someone asked, what's the time frame? I think a year is a really good one, but
mhm.
your unconscious mind will tell you what feels right. Could be 6 months, could be 2 years,
Yeah,
could be 10 years, whatever you want. So I think a year one feels good.
love that. Thank you so much. I can see that there's three open questions in the Q&A. So what I'm going to do is ask Emma about the last element, and then we're going to circle back to the Q&A. So folks, I just encourage you, if you've got any questions that have come up so far in your brain, make sure to get them in the Q&A feature. If you like any of the questions that are in the Q&A presently that you'd like me to prioritize, give them a thumbs up. That's found in just the toolbar down below. So far we've spoken about making better choices and manifest, don't stress. Um, the third element that you spoke to, Emma, I've got down here prioritize people, but I think you use different
Oh,
language. So
prioritize people. That's the one. That's the slow the fuck down to lead. So
nice.
you
Okay.
you might, yeah. So that's when I'm talking to leaders about how
Hmm.
to create the focus around making better choices and to
Hmm.
use manifestation from a team point of view. Because we do this with groups.
Hmm.
We get leadership teams to go to a future point of success and where they've actually achieved their ambitions. We could do this exercise another time, you and I, to talk about the multi-meetup and where it's going. But and you create the picture and then you go back to today and unpick what's holding you back and then build the bridge to get there. So that's
Cool.
a different one. But prioritize you
Nice.
or look after you is the one when you're talking individuals. And that is just about the choices, again, the choices that we make. So that sort of athlete at work theory that I talked about before, that's part of the amazing Planet K2. As business people, we tend to let our calendars and our diaries lead us, right? I wake up in the morning, what have I got? What's on my to-do list? And what meetings have I got? And you get to the end of the day, ticked off some to-do list stuff, not all of it, because we'll all die with the to-do list that hasn't finished. And got through my calendar. And that's it, great day. Now, an athlete's approach to their performance is so much more than that, because if you sort of imagine a pie, they call it the performance pie, a sort of wheel, you know, that's sort of what we call tactical. It's
Hmm.
just a small segment. So for them, that's training. Yes, I have to train. But if I just got up and trained every day and did the same thing, I'm never going to get better. So obviously, physical performance is a massive part of what they do, but it is for us as well. And we forget that.
Hmm.
And that we don't think of sleep and hydration and
Hmm.
nutrition being part of our performance at work. So when we're drinking from a fire hose and staying up till 3 in the morning, living on coffee
Yep.
and eating pizza, at some point we're going to end, our body will keep the score. And
Mhm.
so, performance levels, we're 70% water. So our performance levels are influenced by just 5% change in hydration. And yet we don't think about that. So we should have a cup of water every 20 minutes. I'm not doing very well because I'm talking so much. But, always having water around. And every time you have a Diet Coke, it's a diuretic, so you're actually removing water from your system. So even the smallest things, electrolytes, there we go. All that sort of thinking about what I'm putting in my body, not for vanity, more for sanity and for performance. So,
Mhm.
food, right? So I'm really impressed. I'm actually, by the way, this is not my house. Anyone thought
Really?
it was, or a fake
No.
background. I'm in a hotel in Brighton because I'm about to speak at an event. And I was really impressed. So the snacks, look, there's dried fruit and protein balls. You
Nice.
go to most events and it's just all sugar and fat
Mhm.
and high
Mhm.
carb and beige food. If you've got something really important to do, and an hour before you're eating massive sugar, big high carbs, then your sugar level is going to drop, your performance is going to drop. So it's just thinking about all this as sleep. I mean, God, we sacrifice sleep for work when we're stressed, and that's mad. And you expect on 4 hours sleep to get up and perform because you've been worrying about your deck. Forget the deck. This is the thing that is going to perform.
Mhm.
And then emotions. So we've talked about, the fact that our thoughts and feelings are driven by our belief and our imaginations, and being really, really clear What are my emotions? How am I choosing them? Lovely exercise. This is a habit stack. It's my new trendy thing.
Nice.
Every morning we brush our teeth, well, most of us do. Just thinking about how do I want to feel today, and double that up with manifestation. How do I want to feel when I brush my teeth again tonight? How's my day going to have gone? So when I brush my teeth tonight, I'm going to know I stayed really calm, I stayed really present, and I absolutely smashed the day. So thinking about we can choose our emotions, whereas opposed to kind of running into work and just feeling things, we can control that. And I am not in any way negating the struggles of mental health. And that is not me being dismissive of it. It's just on an average day, we can choose a lot of things. And we've talked about, mental, going into a meeting, focusing on an outcome, going into a situation, focusing on the outcome rather than the stress of, I've got to say this, I've got to say that. Relax, I'm going to smash it. And I'm going to text Joe when I come out and tell him I smashed it. And then the other one is technical. Athletes don't just get up every day and train, do the same thing. They're like, right, they have specific skills. Yet, as how much are we really investing? And I'm not talking about, I'm going on an AI course, although that would be
Mm.
useful because I'm a woman of a certain age who gets very confused by these things. But, you know, listening to podcasts, reading books. I'm always saying to my kids,
Mhm.
investing in finding out people's stories from other industries. I'm very lucky I get exposed to a lot of stuff in film, but so yeah, it's that holistic approach to
Mm.
making choices. And often we feel, oh, I don't get time to exercise. Oh,
Mhm.
I don't, oh, I need coffee because I'm tired. And that is bollocks. Sorry, another swear word. So have a think about your own performance on a scale of 1 to 10. Where are you on a scale? For example, you take physical. Where am I on a scale of 1 to 10 on physical? 30 minutes, walking, even if I just have 15 minutes in the morning. This morning I did the 5 Tibetans. If you don't know what they are, look them up. I did the 5 Tibetans and a quick weights workout. That's
Yeah.
enough.
Mhm.
And the difference in my behavior, my feeling about everything is so transformed. And that is a choice. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you? Where do you want to get to? And what are you going to do differently? And making those choices, physical, emotional, mental,
Oh,
and having that really inspirational space, that's really, really important. I've just
love
had a
that.
message come up. The internet's unstable, am I right?
Yeah,
Um,
your sound
just
disappeared for a second, but you're back, so it's all
Oh,
good.
right. Okay. Controlling the controllables, right? So the things I can control is making sure I've got good internet, making
Mhm.
sure I'm comfortable, all those sort of things. An athlete wouldn't go, I reckon I'm going to get a gold medal, but my trainers are really uncomfortable. Whereas we kind of accept stuff. So it's
Mhm.
about saying what's within the sphere of my control, what can I do differently, and making those better choices.
Which is bloody hard, but as a muscle, that sort of learning to control the controllable, the acceptance of that kind of stuff. It takes time. It's something you learn, unlearn, relearn, unlearn again, etc., etc.
Can I
But
challenge your language? Rather
yeah,
than
of
say
course
it's
you
very
can.
hard, can we say it's not easy?
It's not easy.
Not It's not easy. It's much
Yeah.
saying it's bloody hard. That puts such a full stop on it. It's not
Hmm.
easy.
Hmm.
And just even writing that down, where am I on that scale of 1 to 10? What, okay, I'm at a 3. I want
Hmm.
to get to a 6. Right. What does 3 look like? What does 6 like? What can I do differently? And this isn't what if I had a magic wand and no kids and £1 million. This is what can I do differently?
Hmm.
There is always choice.
And I just want to pick up on a very specific element, and only because you haven't used the specific word yet, which is comparison,
Yeah.
because you've said, "What can I do?" And
Yeah.
so at the beginning of the year, um, to relate an experience, then I was comparing myself to my mate Max, who's a ultramarathon runner,
Right.
who is smashing life, in so many ways. And right now, on the physical sort of 1 to 10, I'm pretty low for me. I'm not feeling great. And I was comparing myself to Max, and I was like, he's a 10 out of 10, and I feel like I'm a 3 or whatever. And I realized that I don't need to get to 10. I just need to get to 4, to one of the points that you've made here, Emma. And so for me, that just looks like reinstating 15 minutes of exercise each day. You know, very much in a similar fashion to what you were speaking about with your weights workout and stuff like that. It's not about, you know, I'm saying things you've said here, but it's not about needing to be Max. You know, it's about needing to be Joe and feeling okay with that and sort of
100%.
go
A
reach for
hundred
them.
percent.
Yeah.
Because once you, if it's overwhelming, and this is what I mean, the pressure we put on ourselves, it doesn't
Hmm.
exist. So we start to go, I've got to do, I've got to be an ultra marathon runner, and you never get there. So you do nothing, you get paralysis.
Yep. Yeah.
Being really gentle on yourself. Someone said, what's a four look like? The four is whatever you want it to look like.
Hmm.
If you're at a one, what does that look like? What does two look like? This is all relative. I'm 52 years old and, not a size zero. So I'm not going to be able to do a lot of things. But it's within the realms of my control. I've got a dog, I walk a lot, and that's great. And
Hmm.
it's just about going, I did brilliantly this morning that I did the 5 Tibetans and then, a 20-minute weights workout. Really chuffed with myself. I did step ups. I didn't really want to, but maybe tomorrow I won't want to do them and I won't. That's okay too.
Yeah.
Because the only judge that matters is your own.
Absolutely. I love
Be
that.
gentle with yourself.
That's so good. Thank you,
Um,
Emma.
I just want to come. One of the things I said before about FUPO,
Hmm.
I just want to say a little bit more about that as well. It's a
Of
bit
course.
related to comparison. So that fear of other people's opinion thing, because part of that wanting to compare yourself is other people judging you, and you're imagining that other people judge me. So the reason FUPO is so insane is because not only are your own thoughts and feelings don't exist, that you can change them,
Hmm.
you're imagining the imagined thoughts of other people that also don't exist. I don't know if you've ever read Jay Shetty. I mean, he's Think Like a Monk.
It came up in the chat. Someone was recommending one of his podcast episodes,
Oh,
actually.
he's brilliant. I definitely listened to his podcast
Hmm.
and his book, his audio book. Um, but he talks about, I'm not what I think I am. I'm not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. So I'm making decisions about my own judgment of myself based on me imagining what you're thinking of me. I mean, it's double madness. Yet
Hmm.
that's a thought, so it becomes a feeling, so it becomes a behavior. And it's such a waste of energy. And let me tell you, no one else is really thinking about you. Most people, we have an ego bias, we're worrying about ourselves. So that judgment we're creating isn't only a waste of energy, but it doesn't exist. I worked with someone who was really scared that her boss was worried, was angry. She was like, my boss is really angry with me. And I was like, why? And she said, because I couldn't get into the office yesterday. The trains were fucked and I couldn't get into the office. And I sent her a message. She said, I'm really, really sorry. And she wrote back, okay. And I said, oh God. And just she usually write loads of really like long messages. She said, no, she only ever writes one word.
Hmm.
I was like, so how do
Yeah.
you know she's angry? She was like, oh my God, you're so right.
Hmm.
So she created this entire scenario. This woman's got 6 other direct reports. She's trying to run a meeting. She gets a message, train to fuck. She's like, all right, that's it, end of.
Hmm.
Whereas exactly, you tangle yourself up in knots, imagining things that don't exist. And that's got to stop. That's where you get your power.
Thank you, Emma. Um, let's take some questions from the community, shall we? Because there are some fabulous ones. And thank you so much to everyone who's contributed to the questions so far. Just a prompt, if you see any questions that you want us to prioritize in asking, please do give them a thumbs up as you have already, because there's some really, really lovely ones. So let's go for the first one. So the top two at the moment come from Anonymous. The first one says, what's your favorite thing to do when you notice you're rushing and need to slow down? A lot of the time I notice I'm doing it, but I find it hard to stop.
That's a brilliant question. Breathe is a really good one. And that sounds really obvious, but our breathing influences so much of our mental state. So just even taking time, I don't know, box breathing. So in 4, hold for 4, out for 4, in 5, hold for 5, out for 5. So breathing is a really good way to calm yourself down. And then indulging in things that I love and thinking, right, okay, I do a plan on a Sunday. Now I don't like people working on a Sunday, and I get very cross with people that work at the weekend, if you've got kids. um because I think work-life balance is always a choice on that scale of 1 to 10.
Hmm.
I know sometimes it's unavoidable, but my 45 minutes on a Sunday is planning the week and making sure that I am slowing down. So working out when I'm going to exercise, when I'm going to walk the dog, when I'm going to get home early. So making sure that was one of the things when I woke up in ICU. Is like, how many bath times have I missed?
Yep.
You know, and so making, I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes bath times are a nightmare, but making sure I'm home with the kids a certain amount of time, you know, thinking about the weekend, right, if I'm out on Thursday, I'm not going to go out Friday, you know, so it's just going, you know, because you can, if you don't plan ahead and make those choices, you can just find yourself just going a million miles an hour.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Hmm.
what are the things I've got? I think if you haven't got a dog, get a dog, because going for a dog walk, and also if you're driving. So one of the things, even though I talked about podcasts and listening, the other day I had an hour in the car, and I was like, right, who do I need to phone?
Hmm.
What podcasts have I got to listen to? Oh, I haven't got that Mel Robbins one. I just went, do you know what? I'm just going to drive for an hour with no noise, and it was beautiful. So it's just finding those moments, and it's not always easy, for absolute peace. And, you know, I'm constantly having conversations with myself. What's going on? How am I feeling? So spent that time doing that, and it was great.
I
Hope
love
that's
that. That's really helpful. Can I just ask a follow-up question to that? Because um, one of the thoughts that comes off the back of your answer, but also when the question was asked, is about like scheduling, slowing down time.
yeah,
But I guess the danger of this is slowing down then starts to feel like another task. So you're on the calendar and stuff like that. And I don't really know how I feel about it in either direction. And so, does it feel like an intuitive thing to just block out a little bit of time and sort of say, I'm going to keep this for
yeah,
me and that's okay? Or,
yeah.
is that less in the spirit of what you speak about?
I mean, I think it's all different depending on your personality type, right? But for
Right.
me, once I've put it in my calendar, and I'm not talking about diarising.
Hmm.
So I actually write it in notes. I plan the week.
Right.
So because my meetings are different. So
Yeah.
this is I'm up, okay. I'm going to get up at 6:30. I'm going to do five Tibetans, then a blah, um, and then I'll do the school run, come home, dog walk. So then it's like 10 till 6 meetings. No point
Mhm.
me even trying to do something. Or sometimes I might slide in a 1 till 2 dog walk. And then it might be like 6 till 8 homework. I also put what I'm going to wear every day. And I know that sounds bonkers, but it removes, it just is, it's amazing. It's like having a stylist because I forget by Wednesday, because my memory, I forget by Wednesday what I've said. And I open my phone and go, oh, genius. I'm wearing my black jumps, my white jacket. It's like having a stylist. So I work out what I'm going to wear every day. So when I'm going to exercise, it removes a lot of stress for me
Nice.
personally.
Love that.
So
That's so
because
good.
once I've written it down, I'll stick to it.
I love that. Sarah has put, that's such a good idea about what to wear. Sarah also commented earlier, oh, a different Sarah, sorry, who just said, I've just looked up the five Tibetans, five poses. One of them includes a wheel, which I'm definitely going to have to manifest myself to get into, which is great. But I just wanted to go to the next question. I thought that comment made me laugh. So thank you, Sarah. So the next one comes from Anonymous, who says, Emma, your journey is truly inspiring. Sometimes I feel I am in my 20s, so if I don't hustle or work hard now, will I be able to do it later? How do I let go of this quote unquote timeline?
That's a really good question. I think, well, it's all a choice. It's just how much that hustle is in your head or it's real.
Hmm.
So this is not slow the fuck down. It's not about working, doing less.
Hmm.
It's not about not working hard. I work bloody hard. I'm still me.
Hmm.
Slow the fuck down is about the micro decisions we make every day. And it's being really present and being really mindful about the choices you're making. Because out of that 100% of your week, of that hustle, 40% of it's probably stuff you don't need to be doing.
Hmm.
That it's just stuff that you're creating in your head because of your FUPO or your imagined thoughts or your fear. And you don't have to be doing it. So slow the fuck down. Actually, if you think about it, if you're focused on the things that are actually going to make a difference, if you're unstressed because you're using manifestation, using all your power, if you're really clear on what it is that you want and believe you can get it, you're going to be more productive. If you're looking after yourself, if you're
Mhm.
sleeping, this is
Mhm.
about being better. This isn't about doing less. And I feel like I said to you the other day, I was in an office and one of my clients introduced me to one of her peers and went, "Oh, this is Emma. She's running a slow the fuck down program for them." And he went, "Well, I don't want them to slow the fuck down. I want them to speed the fuck up." And I said, "You're going to burn them out and kill them then, and then they won't be productive." So
Mhm.
this is my business has grown since May 22. My life I'm smashing it. I'm writing a book for God's sake. Life goal. I'm fitter, I'm healthier. My kids are thriving. I've got a dog. I'm squeezing more things in.
Mhm.
It's not about doing less. You keep focused. And you know what? Also, just remember what I said before in your 20s. What is it your quest is for? What are
Mhm.
you hustling for? Because I promise you, in your head, you're like, when I get that job, I'll be happy. When I get that salary, I'll be happy. You buy the house, you get a bigger mortgage. It's never enough. And I
Mhm.
say this to my kids, especially my ones in the 20s. The quest is to be able to wake up in the morning and look yourself in the mirror and say, I like you. Well done. Everything's okay. That's the quest. And the only way you're going to do that is by being really mindful. This is not about doing less.
That's so lovely. I kind of just want to let that sit there for a minute because like I feel like that's so profound. You know,
They
it's
should teach this shit in school, shouldn't they? I mean,
they should. They should. Thank you. I could sit for the next 7 minutes just being like quiet like that, but I probably shouldn't because that'd be really bad hosting. So let's take the next question from Emily. Um, so Emily asks, "How do you stay positive and patient and trust your manifestation is coming?"
that's a great question, Emily, especially for those of us who aren't patient, and I'm not very. I think, well, the answer is it's the knowing, it's not the hoping. So when you know, that's the whole point of manifest, don't stress. You just got to relax and trust the timeline.
Mhm.
Um, when we found our house eventually, and remember, I'm married to an actor and I just set up a business, so no bugger wanted to give us a mortgage, and it was during COVID. They wanted the contract from Danny's. He was in a thing called Halo, is a Paramount Plus thing, and they wanted confirmation it would go to 3 seasons. And it's
Wow.
like, you know, even Steven Spielberg, who owned the production company, wouldn't be able to give you that confirmation.
Yeah.
If you're the CEO of Goldman Sachs, you don't know whether you're going to be fired tomorrow.
Mhm.
Anyway, sorry, I'm getting a sidetrack frustration. It took us 10 months from the time we put the offer in to get the mortgage. And during that time, Danny kept saying, "Let it go, babe," because they were desperate to sell. And
Mhm.
we ended up having to pay rent on this property. We ended up having to jump through hoops. But I was like, it's my house.
Mhm.
It's my house. I'm already living there. I'm parking in the drive. I know what bedrooms the kids are in. I've decorated it. It's my house. There wasn't an option. So it's about trust. So that took a long time. And I don't think I was going, oh, hang on a minute, this was on my vision board. Like I said, 7 years to get the book done.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things still that every year tip into the next year of the vision board. And I genuinely believe if it doesn't happen, it's because I didn't believe it would happen. Because if I believed it would happen, I would create it. That's taking responsibility. So trust, keep believing, keep doing the work, and it will come. I promise you, it will come. And you have to just believe, and that's why manifestation isn't I want to be a catwalk model, because I
Mhm.
don't
Mhm.
believe I can. um, it's got to be stuff within the realms of your control that not hope, not wish, know is achievable, and it
Mhm.
will come.
Mhm. And I guess there was an intuitive follow up to that, which is about short term sort of setback and stuff like that. Because
Mm.
presumably in that 10 moments, there were moments where, well, let me not presume, let me ask, were there moments in that 10-month period where you were like, I know this is going to happen, but also there's the 1%, that sort of sits at the back of the mind? Or, is this 100% all in thing,
I don't remember going, well, this isn't going to happen. I just remember thinking,
Mhm.
this is really fucking hard. We got to the point just before Christmas, and we ended up moving in April. But just
Mhm.
before Christmas, we thought we'd got it. We went to Coots,
Hmm.
private bank, and they'd said yes, they'd even done a survey. Once they go to survey, it's done, and they pulled it at the last minute.
Right.
And we were supposed to get the keys on the Friday, and we had a call on the Wednesday saying, "Oh, sorry, we've changed our mind." I don't think I thought this isn't going to happen. I think at that point I was like, "Wow, this is really hard."
Yeah.
And cause and effect is a really good thing. I just want to quickly talk about. I know we haven't got much time. We're sorry, guys. If you're in effect, you're like, "This isn't fair. Why is this happening? This is shit." If you're in cause, there's three questions you ask yourself. How did I create this somehow? Because you always do. What can I learn from this? And what options are available to me now? And if you have that lens of those three questions, you'll stay in your power.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you very much, Emma. Um, let's take one question. This was something you referenced earlier on. Could be a whole webinar, so I don't suspect we'll solve it in 3 minutes, but maybe we could give a stab. So the question says, what do you do when it's not clear where you want to go or who you want to be? I'm so overwhelmed with the noise of life that I'm finding it hard to make decisions and it be clear in my head as to where I'm heading.
That's such a difficult one, and I totally empathize. I often say to people, take away the specifics of things. So if you're going to do that manifestation, go into the future, pick a day, and just talk about how things feel. So remove that I'm working for, blah, blah, and I'm doing, I'm
Hmm.
waking up in the morning and I'm doing this. This afternoon, I have some lovely meetings with some people I'm working with, and remove all this detail around it. And just, generally, actually, in manifestations, I'm all about how it looks, how it feels, what's going on. And if you want a really great exercise, if I said to you, this is the perfect scenario, what's the one thing you know would be on it? And it might be, I'm in a great culture. I'm working with people who I value. I'm learning. I'm being respected. All that stuff, you're not making decisions about your particular career journey. You're just putting the aesthetics around how your life wants to be. And then that's the law of attraction. When you see those things, you'll know it's right for you.
Hmm.
So there are more than one ways to paint that picture.
Love
Does that
that.
make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think it's hard, isn't it? It's so hard for
Not
you
easy.
know. No, not easy. Although you did say fucking hard earlier, so
Sorry. Oh God.
um, it's not easy. But uh, when you're going through this process, everyone's telling you to do a certain thing. So to remove the specifics sounds really really helpful.
Yeah.
Um, Emma, that's our time. So
Oh no, we've
thank
got
you.
so many questions. What do we
I,
do? Can you
well,
send me them or something?
of course I can. Of course I
Yeah.
can. I'll do that and I'll capture them and you can answer them however you like, either through TMM or LinkedIn or whatever it may be. In fact, that's a prompt for me to put your LinkedIn up on my screen. So if you'd like to connect with Emma,
Oh, please do.
then she's just there. But yeah, we've got Helen saying, "Thank you so much. So much resonated with me. It's not easy with a winky face." So
It's
there we
not
go.
easy.
Thank you, Emma, for being a legend. Thank you for sharing and your honesty, and hopefully you can see the well-deserved sort of praise coming through in the chat
Oh,
feature as well.
thank you
And
guys.
thank you
It's
to
a
everyone
real
in the community, truly.
honor to be here. Thank you.
And yeah, with all that said, we'll leave it there. So we're back next week. It'll be a thrill to have you all back. We're doing the Diary of a Burnout Survivor with Rita Cedra, who's from SEMrush. Lovely human being, articulate, funny. I think we'll have a great time. With all that said, thank you all for making it another special hour. Thank you, Emma, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Joe. Bye.